I'd like to take a few minutes to go over using operators in Snap. Most of these things do exactly what you would expect they would do. They're all here under the Operators tab. So if I grab, for example, the plus, paste it in the script area, if I say 2 plus 3 and run it, obviously it tells me 5, I can stick that into another operator. Perhaps this multiplication is a little asterisk. I can stick that into there. I could say 2 plus 3 times 4, so that would be 5 times 4, which is 20, of course. So I can run this on its own, or of course I can paste it into another block. I could paste it into one of these greater or less than blocks, or equal to, or a whole bunch of other blocks. I could paste it into an if statement, or even a say statement, something like that. Be careful with order of operation, though. This works just like regular math. If I put the multiplication in first, and then I say 2 plus 3 times 4. It's a little bit difficult to see, but you can see the 3 times 4 is pasted into the other block. Well, this acts like parentheses. It'll perform this operation first, and if I run this, I get 14 because 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14. So here are a few other examples below. This says 5 times 4. Again, this block is pasted into the other block. That sort of acts like parentheses. So 5 times 4 is 20 divided by 2 should be 10. In fact, it is. Again, order of operations underneath. 4 minus 1 is 3. It does this first, times 5, which is 15. And there are other blocks as well that do operations. Round does just what you would expect it would do. 2.3 rounded is 2. 2.6 rounded, is 3. And there are a few other blocks that you might not be familiar with. Here I have one that will return the letter of a particular word. So right now, I declared a variable called name. I set name to Haas, and then I said, say letter 1 of name. And of course, if I run this, it says H. But I could type in some other letter. I could say letter 2, and so forth. And of course, I don't have to use a variable here. I could just type anything I wanted to. I could type in pizza, and now it'll tell me letter 2 of pizza is I. I can also get the length of a word. Maybe I'll just paste that in here. So name equals Haas. Length of name will tell me 4, because there are 4 letters in Haas. Underneath that, these you might not be familiar with. This command right here that says mod is the remainder of division. And this is a very common thing in computer science. It's referred to as modulo division. So mod is the remainder of dividing 14 by 5. So 5 goes into 14 twice with 4 left over. Remember way back in elementary school when you learned how to divide like that? So let's give this a run. There's 4 left over after I do the division. Let's do a couple more. 3 goes into 14. Are you thinking about it at the same time as I am? 3 goes into 14. Well, it goes into 12 evenly. And then I guess I have 2 left over after that, so the remainder should be 2. How about 14 mod 7? Well, 7 goes into 14 evenly, so there's no remainder. And in fact, it tells me the remainder is 0. So mod is very useful. It's used all the time in computer science to tell you whether the result of division has a remainder or not. And very often, you want to know if a number is even or odd, you can just divide it by 2. So for example, 5 mod 2 will tell me 1, because the remainder of dividing 2 into 5 is 1. And if I have an even number here, I'll put an even number, 8, it'll tell me the remainder is 0. So very often you will use this to determine if a number is even or odd, and I would probably put this in an if statement. I would say something like, if 8 mod 2 equals 0, then I have determined that the number is even. And so in fact, in this case, it'll say true because it is even. If I stick an odd number here like 7, it tells me false because the remainder is not 0. So this is a very useful thing, and you could put this inside of an if statement and determine if something's odd or even. One last thing underneath all of that in operators is this little block with a drop down that will give you a bunch of other mathematical operations. Right now it says square root, so the square root of 10 is 3 point something or other. And if I hit the little drop down arrow, I have a whole bunch of other operations that I can use. Sine, cosine, tangent, natural log, base 10 log, and what is this? 10 to the to whatever power. So there's a bunch of operations here. You can play around with them. We're not going to use too many of these, but a few will certainly be useful. So now it's your turn to try some mathematical operators. Have fun.